thank Jabran, who created that title. It's not mine. So I don't want to say I plagiarized. I want to thank him. It's a beautiful title. Story, Science, and Society. And then my project is the tripod of literature, medicine, and politics. We see, when you look at it, you say, oh, what is the connection? Literature, medicine, they look to be far apart. But the purpose of my study is to let you know that they are the same. I mean, they are very similar. And we're going to go into that. So this is the protocols. I want to thank the management of the Institute for Advanced Studies for inviting me to the residency. And I want to thank the director, staff, and workers of the Institute for the warm hospitality, extended to my wife and I. When I was coming, I asked them, can I come with my wife? They said, oh, yes, you can come with her. Because as senior citizens, the house is empty. The children have gone away. So only empty nest. So we have to carry each other where we are going. That makes everybody to be relaxed and organized. So I'm thanking this for that. And this is the outline I want to follow today. I want to have a presentation of my project. And then I will make some reports about my international engagements when I was in the residency. One of the unique things about the residency is that you are allowed to go out and come in as long as you don't get stranded. So I took advantage of that to do some international engagements while I was here. Then I also did some local activities while I was here. And then the cream of my stay, I think the biggest thing, is the travel workshop with my colleagues who are here. I shouldn't be calling them students because we are now writers. Because when I read some of their outputs, I said, wow, how I wish I was the one who wrote this. Very beautiful article. So we are now colleagues, we are writers now. And then there will be a dramatic sketch by some students who are here, nursing students, on the therapeutic use of the theater. Because that is the practice, just a few minutes, 10 minutes, to show that what I'm saying is not just theory, it's also possible. And my summary is that there's my project, like I said, literature, interaction between literature, medicine, and politics, is that the similarities and disparities between these fields will be discussed. And then I will also let us know the historic, because what we are doing today is not new. People have done it before. I mean, it has been coming before the Middle East stages. We'll look into that. And then I will also examine what people consider to be strange but intriguing connection between literature and medicine, and to see how the union between these can advance our pursuits of humanism, leadership, and scholarship, especially in medical education here in Morocco and entire African continent. Then the role of literature in the lives of sick people will also be discussed. And then we'll see how the power of medicine can influence patients' lives. Then we'll look at a very new emerging area called medical humanities. This is an interesting field of study where people consider humanities, social sciences, art, literature, creative writing, music, philosophy, etc. together. And it has opened new areas of research in medical science. And we'll see that literature and medical science is now a very interesting part of study, where medical science in literature can promote many interdisciplinary regions. And then this field is emerging as a new course. And this is one thing I want to push into many African universities, including UM6P. So in carrying out this assignment, I drew on my experience as well as that of many writers and scholars. I also drew on my experience as a former member of the Nigerian Parliament, that is, in quotes, a politician, where my literary and medical backgrounds enriched my political career. And I mentioned that my literary activities has now produced about 30 books, ranging from novels, children's books, travel stories, biographies, and seminar papers. And these are the things I'm going to look at today. And this is my humble contribution to the literary field. 14 adult novels, 6 biographies, 10 novelists on the HIV/AIDS theme, 6 novelists on gender-based violence theme, 4 novelists on COVID-19 theme, 2 children's books, 3 collections of travel stories, 2 short story collections, and a film adaptation of my novel, Tenants of the House, which was on Netflix for 2 years. And then, as from April 11, it will be in the cinemas again in Nigeria and Ghana. So this is brief. So again, because of this field, there is a new publication devoted to my work. And the title is Medicine and Literature Without Borders, Health and Social Justice in Writings of Wale Okediran. This book will be released in 2 weeks' time, April 19, by a publisher in Nigeria. And that is the book. It's a collection of my works, critical analysis of my works by PhD students, by professors who have used my work for their professorial career. And I will have to send copies to the Institute. I mean, I owed the Institute about 2 big copies, which I will send to them once the book is released. And in this book, there are 32 chapters in that book that explore different themes of health and social justice in the literary and cultural productions of Wale Okediran. The book is divided into 4 parts, exploring Okediran's literary and cultural productions. And these 4 sections are critical essays. There's a section on reviews. There's another one on interviews. There's another on tributes. Now, like I said before, what we are talking about today is not new. It's been there ages. So we are just rehashing or repeating. And it goes back to the Greek mythology, where we believe that the god Apollo was known as the patron of music, poetry, arts, and healing. And in addition, it's on record that several scholars continue to be intrigued by this connection between literature and medicine. And that is the Apollo, the Greek god. It was around 120 to 140 CE. And it's believed that both writers and healers use him as their symbol of connection. It is also believed that the actual link between medicine and literature dates back to the time of Homer. Homer, who was possibly born around 18th century BC, was an ancient Greek poet who is credited to be as the author of a collection of poetry, Iliad and the Odyssey, 2 epic poems, and is considered to be the foundation works of ancient Greek literature. And that is Grandpa Homer, or great-grandpa Homer, because he lived in the times of the Greeks. He is one of our predecessors in this business we are talking about. And that's his poem. That is the analysis. They believe that a lot of aspects of that poem talked about medical themes. He spoke about injuries, passages describing battle wounds, wound thrust, arrow wounds, sling injuries. And then it's believed that the level of detail in this description suggests a degree of medical knowledge, even if poetic language was used. And it's believed that Homer's work, particularly the Iliad, are linked to both literature and medicine because of the detailed descriptions of war injuries and medical practices, leading to some to believe Homer himself may have been a military doctor or something. And the poem also offers insight into ancient Greek trauma management and techniques, including wound care and the use of medicinal plants, which we are now using in modern medicine. And this is again, these are some of the output of that poetry. It's believed that Omar must have been a military doctor, because some historians suggest that Omar himself, from what he has described in that poem, and then it is also believed that Homer is like a founder and patron of medicine, because his work has influenced Western medicine. And in significance, Homer is considered one of the greatest literary artists of all time, and his works are foundational to Western literature. Then there's another old hand, that Paracelsus, who said that medicine is actually not a science, it is also an art. And this statement underscores the physiological and anatomical aspect of medicine and the intricacy of human life. So when you examine medicine from this perspective, you show that the healing process combines biological, psychological, and sociological factors, so that all these things are interrelated. And that is Paracelsus. I think his real name was it's not a long name. Theophrastus von Homer, yes. He was a Swiss physician, alchemist, and philosopher. Professor Raphael is not here today. Maybe it's one of his ancestors. Raphael is a big philosopher. So he's considered the father of toxicology, and his ideas had led to medical revolution, because he pioneered the use of chemistry in medicine and emphasized observation and challenging traditional practices. We are doing this to show us that some of these things has preceded us, and we are just trying to. Another well-known antecedent philosopher is Avicenna, popularly called Ibn Sina. He's well known in Europe by the Latinized name of Avicenna, but his real name is Abu Ali al-Hussein Ibn Sina, and he's supposed to be a significant philosopher in the Islamic tradition, and arguably the most influential philosopher of pre-modern era. He was born in Afshana, near Bukhara in Central Asia, in about 1980. He's best known as a polymath, as a physician, whose major work continued to be taught as a medical textbook in Europe, and all that. So you can see the relationship, and that is the picture of Ibn Sina. So now, the origin of medicine, and it's believed that romantic poets and novelists held new beliefs that the literary text has an organic nature, which they thought mirrored human vitality and growth. And this language of organism permitted both medical science and poetic theory. And one of the famous UK poets, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, coined the term bipolar, psychosomatic, neuropathology. These are medical terms. And it's interesting that they were all coined by poets. So you can see that, and then again, there are some religious connection with medicine. Priests who documented science and in the time of Hippocrates and his disciples. Now, how does literature influence medical practice? It's a literary accounts of illness can provide physicians with insights regarding the burden of science of disease and the attitude of patients and lives of carers. That is one of the things that literature does for medicine. Moreover, medical-oriented fiction and psychobiography can help physicians to ponder about ethical controversy and dilemmas. And then it's believed that a background in humanities can improve the understanding of scientific and diagnostic milestones in medicine, and familiarize them with the use of metaphors. So that is the relationship between literature and medicine. And when you do, for medical students and doctors, the literary accounts of illness can teach physicians lessons about the lives of sick people. Fiction can also inform physicians of the power and implication of what they do. And then the narrative structure can help physicians to understand patient stories more fully. In addition to this, the reason for studying literature, there is the additional objective of educating rather than merely training doctors. When doctors and medical people are exposed to literature, they are better educated. Okay, I've mentioned this. So now we want to look at the list of men and women who have combined medicine with literature. We have famous literary physicians like Oliver Goldsmith, John Keats, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Tobias George Smollett, Anton Chekhov, Somerset Maugham, William Carlos Williams, Nawar El-Saadawi, Yusuf Idris. All these are medical doctors who are also writers. And you can see the time they lived. They were, I think, far, far ahead of us. And some of the examples of the novels that had medical themes are also listed. Those of you who have read some of these authors, you can understand what I'm talking about. Novel by Chekhov, another one by Macbeth, another one by Jason Kiada, another one by Hemingway. All these novels contain healthcare issues which confirm the connection between literature and medicine. And then I also mentioned some more other books, Kazuo Ishiguri's and The Sun. This book, in simple terms, is about gene editing, about issues of caregivers and that kind of thing. And then I mentioned Alexander Solzhenitsyn's Cancer Ward. These are novels with medical themes. So, literature and medicine gives you access to values and experience of physicians and patients and families. And then it's also developed their clinical imagination through writing. It promotes clarity of observation, expressions, and self-knowledge. And it's now confirmed that the medical faculty in about 1/3 of US medical schools, they now teach literature from the preclinical stages to residency programs in the US. So we have finished our introduction about literature and medicine. Let's talk about literature and politics. Because when you mention politics, everybody will look at you with one bad eye. They look at politics as a negative thing. Sometimes when I go for functions, my friends will tell me not to introduce myself as a politician. Just say you are a doctor. If you say you're a politician, they'll start looking at you as if you are a bad person. But politics is an inescapable domain of our lives. Our understanding and assessment of politics often seem distant. But the political drama splashed across various media can leave us disillusioned. That's true. Today you read about what Trump has done, then you read about what happened in Africa, then you start saying, oh, these politicians have come. So it makes you a little, but the point is, literature itself is like a political act. Literature and politics are often regarded as separate domains, but they share a lot of similarities. Literature not only reflects the political reality of its era, but also has the potential to influence and shape political perspectives. Literature frequently mirrors political context. I will show you a few examples. Like Shakespeare. Many of you who are familiar with his book, George Orwell, 1984. It was talking about totalitarianism, and it was reflecting on political reality of that time. Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Many of us read this when we were small. It became a vehicle for social criticism to tackle poverty in 19th century London. Then other literary works, I mentioned the Uncle Tom's Cabin and all these things. And then my own novels too. Rainbows Are for Lovers, The Boys at the Border, Tenants of the House, also address political themes. So you can see that we cannot diverge literature from politics. And I like this quotation from Italo Calvino. So literature is necessary to politics above all when it gives a voice to the one who doesn't have a voice. when he gives a name to the one who doesn't have a name, and to all political languages, literature is like an ear that can hear more than politics. Literature is like an eye that can perceive beyond the chromatic scale to which politics is sensitive. That was Italo Calvino, the use of literature. You must be an Italian, like my friend here. So, just a little example of some of my interventions. This is a book that I wrote during the pandemic for literature, for nursery students. It's in simple ways. It showed nursery school children how to avoid transmitting the illness at that time. Then I also did once, Alima Saves a Village. This is a book that is on the reading list of many schools in Nigeria, because it also addresses the issue of pandemic through literature. Because we discovered that storytelling, you can use storytelling to address many important themes. Then, of course, the HIV/AIDS awareness series. I was commissioned by Longman to write these children's books many years ago with some writers from Zambia. And this is what we produced on the HIV theme. In a simple storyline, people can understand what we are talking about without any medical jargon. Then, in the issue of drug addiction, this is another story. All I did was to put some children on the train from one part of Nigeria to the other, and then during the train journey, a lot of incidents happen to develop so that people will understand the impact of drug addiction among our young ones. And then when we are talking of gender-based violence, when you expose children at a tender age to be hawking or selling things, they usually expose them to become victims of gender-based violence. And these are some of the things we use to educate people on this. And then, of course, this on security and peace. This is my novel on the ongoing insurgency in Nigeria, the Boko Haram thing that is happening. And this one has addressed that issue in a very simple way for people to understand the implications of that. And then, of course, my big book, which came from my experience when I was a member of the parliament. I made it to address politics and conflict resolution. And this is the book that was adapted into a film. And it was on Netflix for 2 years before now it's going to cinema. That was the Netflix poster. Came out, and at least it gave me some money to improve my lifestyle a bit. You know, we writers are always struggling. But when Netflix came calling, I was able to also do like this. So now this is a new field in many universities in the world, medical humanities. And the aim is to contribute to the development of students and practitioner abilities to listen, interpret, and communicate, and to encourage attention to ethical dimension of practice. It also develops students and practitioner skills in thinking critically about their experience and knowledge. And instead of just talking only about disease and illness with medical jargon, medical humanities take within its ambit wider socio-cultural perspective. You can talk about patient-doctor relationship, and also approach in a way that people will understand what you are talking about. And that is why we call it medical humanities. And the knowledge used here is what physicians, writers used. They call themselves privileged observers. And it allows them to see things that ordinary people may not see. in the last quarter of 20th century now, literature and medicine has made a comeback. It's now a popular topic, and it's now a subdiscipline of literary studies in many universities. It focuses on issues such as the physician, the patient, doctor-patient communication, empathy, ethics, and life perspective. And we now have journals in literature and medicine, not just the teaching of it. And like I mentioned before, in many US medical schools, literature is now taught to medical students, to nursing students. I mean, the drama we just saw now was put together by nursing students here in UM6P. So you can see that what is happening in the US is already happening here. And the example of Israel has also given a faculty of medicine in US, and the first full-time professor of literature and medicine at a US medical school was appointed 40 years ago. So you can see that US has always been ahead. And in Nigeria, we now have an Institute of Department of Medical Humanities, where literature, management, and politics are taught to medical students. And since 2005, the field of literature and medicine has witnessed a lot of progress in some African universities. And one remarkable achievement is the offering of literature and medicine in the Department of English of the University of Ibadan in Nigeria as an elective for MA students of literature. And the first professor of literature and medicine in Nigeria is a professor called Babatunde Omobowale. He's the first professor of literature and medicine in Nigeria, and that is the young man's face. He studied the writings of medical doctors who are writers. He used it to do his first degree, second degree, his doctorate. And I could recollect at this inaugural lecture as a professor, I was invited because he cited my works as some of the works he used to earn that position. And currently, Professor Omobowale is supervising many PhD students in the area of literature and medicine at the Department of English in University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And his paper, The Physician as a Writer, a study of the novels of Wale Okediran, 2006, advocates the introduction of study of literature to medical students. So you can see that African universities are also coming up in this new field. Now, the future of medical humanities. I said in addition to University of Ibadan in Nigeria, the English department, the College of Medicine, also in Nigeria, has commenced what we call Arts in Medicine project with a view of transforming healthcare experience through creativity. This was done with the belief that creative outlet helps to reduce stress, anxiety, boredom, and presence of pain. I'm happy that even those of us who did not understand the local language were rolling with laughter at that small presentation by the students, by the nursing students. So you can see the role of literature and the arts in helping people, in helping patients. And another university in Nigeria, University of Medical Sciences in Ondo, Nigeria, as far back as 2020, established an Institute of Health, Humanities, and Entrepreneurship, the first of such in Nigeria. And 4 years ago, I was made a visiting professor in that university to be teaching medical students and health workers literature, creativity, to promote their work. So you can see that this thing is now catching on, and UM6P, thanks to Ikram and our team, are also in the forefront of what is happening all over the world. We are looking forward to a time when we shall have a faculty of medical humanities here in UM6P. And Ikram and Co will be becoming professors there. So, From what we have said all along, the use of literature in the education of members of the health profession is now well established and increasingly recognized as a powerful learning tool. Apart from being concerned with emotions, feelings, and reactions to illness and suffering, literature is also relevant in debates on health and social issues. And it's also confirmed that when you read stories of patients and writing about their experience, it encourages doctors and health professionals in training the tool to better understand their patients. Discussing and reflecting on literature brings the medical practitioner biases and assumptions into focus. And when you read literature, reading literature also requires critical thinking and makes a better doctor out of you, or a better health worker. I'm sure those nursing students who have performed here today, by the time they go to their patients, their approach will be different from those nursing students who only cram the anatomy, physiology. These students that you saw just now will bring some humanity into their profession, which will make them better health workers. And like I mentioned, this has been happening other places. So that is where I'm going to stop about my presentation for the project. Like I said earlier on, I will now move forward to my other engagements while I was here. And these are the international engagements, which I mentioned before. I attended a conference on reproduction rights for African writers, in Nigeria in January. And then I was at the London Book Fair, March 11-13 in UK. And on the invitation of University of Westminster, I went to deliver a lecture to students of the Department of Media Arts. And then another travel writing, because a writer must always look for raw materials. I just telling Fatima, who had just come back from Thailand, that she owes us 2 travel stories. She can't just go like that and come back with. So she has promised us 2 travel stories from you. So any opportunity for you to write, you must take it. And that's what when I had an invitation to Cardiff in Wales in March. I went there, took a train drive from London to Cardiff. I was there when England and Wales played rugby match. Even though I didn't understand what they were doing. They were just bashing each other. I don't understand rugby, but I was able to get some material for my writing. And that was myself at the book fair in London. And that was the lecture at the University of Westminster to the students there. When I mentioned to them that I did a travel workshop here, they were very jealous. They also wanted their own workshop. And I said, no, not now. UM6P has the copyright for this one. And then, of course, I made a little friend when I went to Cardiff, one of these dolly you saw here. And then my local engagements here, Sam is not here. Sam is a researcher at the experimental farm. He invited me to the farm, and I spent a whole day there. I was so mystified with what I saw. Solar energy being produced, irrigation to fight against aridity, and so many experiments. And then my wife and I went to Rabat for a weekend. We stopped over in Casablanca, and then we also went to Marrakesh, because you can't come to Morocco without going to Marrakesh. Some people even believe when you tell them, you say, oh, they believe that Marrakesh is the capital of Morocco. And then, of course, we had to do some sightseeing here. And then, like I said, the biggest of them all, the travel writing workshop, which happened here. That was myself at the farm. With, cactus, those are cactus plants. For those who don't know agriculture, I learned that a lot. And that cactus plant has so many uses. Medicinal, food, so many. Even for protection. You can use it to protect your farm against small animals. And then at the market, I had a field day to roam about with my wife to see what's happening.
What about the donkey?
Okay, I didn't show the donkey. Yeah, you took that picture. The donkey is not here today. And that was my friend, the photographer who took the picture of that donkey. I mean, you know, a writer, everything is, we look for ingredients, just like a chef looks for ingredients to make a good food. We writers look for materials. And when I went to the market, I saw so many things that happened, which I'm using to write again. And then we were with my friend, Professor Eugene Bode, and the family in Rabat. Took us to lunch and had a nice time there. And then stop over with this senior gentleman, former Minister of Culture, Mr. Idris Alao. We were his guests in his house in Casablanca. So the network continued to widen. And then we had a wonderful day in Marrakesh. Even though almost all my money almost disappeared that day. Because the place is full of tourists from all over the world. And the price of things have jumped up. We had a beautiful ride around town, and that's another traveler for me. And this is the biggest one. Where are the members? Clap for yourself, please. This is the masterpiece. Masterpiece of the year. Thanks to my brother there, Brother Tazi. That was his idea. When I first came, he looked at me, he said, look, we have to do something for the students. And we are thinking, what do we do? What do we do? He said, yeah, I got it. You must do a travel workshop. Yes. And that was wonderful. And the director, clap for her. She approved that 46 students, we should go to the Atlas Mountains for 1 night, 2 days. And we had a wonderful time there. As you can see here, this is one of the best pictures you will ever see anywhere. I'm sure some of these characters here are here too. So that is, for me, is the masterpiece, the magnus opus of my stay here in the residency. And from this experience, we were able to collect 20 beautiful travel stories. They are listed in alphabetical order. Dr. Tazi was saying that we should do a roll call, that whoever is not here, his name should be removed from him. I said, no. My colleagues have done their work. They've attended lectures. They went on a field trip, and they spent countless nights to produce their story. So they are qualified to become published authors. So that is, we are listing them in alphabetical order. The Road to Ukamedon by Samuel Anuga. Echoes of the Mountains by Sondosi Ajadi. I have been to the mountaintop. Wonderful. I almost stole that title because I like it so much. By Alanda Akamania. Then Ukamedian, A Valley from Paradise by Abdelhak Buyad. When Dreams Turn into Reality by Ikram. I don't want to be biased, but you know, as a teacher, there are some stories you read and then you say, oh, I should have written this story. Now we go on to A Snowy Escape, A Journey to the Stars by Munia El Kurachi, Ukamedian Snowville by Obasanjo Fajemirokun and Constant Nwokocha. They are here. That's a dual. They did a dual. Beyond Horizons by Aziz Adewale Hamzat. A Journey to Ukamedian by Umama Kabila. Ukamedian, A Journey Through Snow, Stars, and Moroccan Hospital by Gradima Khalifa. He's also here. Yeah, where is he? I saw him just now. Okay. Awake Dreams. And this is another spectacular story, both in Arabic and English, by Zara Mada. A Journey to the Unknown by Janet Ojo. Adventure from Bengura to Ukamedian by my wife. You know, I don't think so. She's still learning. It's her first story. And we celebrated it because I said, I've written so many books, but my wife has written only one story, so we clap for her. And then Dr. Tazi insisted that I must write. So I also wrote my own, A Weekend on the Atlas Mountains by Wale Okediran. Then Mountains, Snow, and Adventures by Yusuf Olanrewaju is here. I didn't begin. Okay, sorry. It will be changed, sorry. Yeah. A Snowy Escape by Kehinde Olawale. You Carried Down Through My Eyes by Pop Pola. Lands of Colors by Harvey Romezo. And Excursion to Cameroon by Anane Yakubu. Anane is a professor, but she followed us to that place and became a student.
Yeah, she's also a resident.
Yeah, and she's also a resident here too. And when I read her story, she said, even though I'm a professor, I have to come to the class. I have to come back to the classroom to learn about. So you see, humility is also good. And from that, she was able to produce this book. So on behalf of the Institute, I want to say a big thank you for giving us this opportunity to do the workshop and to discover new talents. Because some of those works, some of them were writing for the first time, and I couldn't believe it. In fact, I had to do some search to check whether they use AI. But I discovered that, no, these were very original stories, because you will see that this fellow was talking about that trip. One of them said, I was put in a room with 5 other girls that I've never met in my life. But then we became friends. I mean, that's not AI. So they're wonderful writers, and I'm happy that we're able to discover this group of people. And I believe that when the book is published, we'll be talking with the Institute on how to, because, I mean, I must, with all humility, these are very beautiful stories that they can stand their stead anywhere in the world. And I believe that publication, once it's ready, we'll be able to push it. And then maybe that could be the beginning of your writing careers. Yeah, so on this note, I want to thank you for listening. Thank you so much. So I will give room for a few comments, questions, corrections, additions, and subtractions. So, anybody wants? Yes, please.
Professor, from your comments.
Yes, please. Your name, please.
Sorry.
Yes.
My name is Constance.
Okay.
And from your comments, you read every story that was sent to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Any other one? Yes, please.
It makes them a great writer.
Okay, repeat your question.
Okay, I said my name is Rafiat, and I'm curious, and I want to know that maybe it's because medical students read through a lot of books for their medical studies. Does that make them a great writer, or maybe perhaps a great listener and someone that pays a very keen attention to observations?
Okay, thank you. Maybe the best thing is for me to take all the questions so that I don't cause it. Any other question? I'm writing them down. Yes, please. Okay. Your name, please, and what you do.
Yes, thank you. My name is Aziz Adewale Hamzat.
Okay.
I'm an outreach officer for the Africa Initiative here at UM6P. My question is, I'm not sure if this is exactly in line with the presentation, but I would like to ask, because you gave an example of Ibn Sina, Avicenna.
Yes.
And I realized that from my own understanding, they pass across their knowledge through literature, right? But in Africa, we have a lot of indigenous medical knowledge. That, in fact, there are some things that I personally experienced while growing up, that the way we treated some things and everything. This, you do not see this when you go to hospital, you know? And we, at the same time, we don't have, I mean, from my own understanding so far, I do not see a literature documenting all those things which by, we all have our fathers dying, all their knowledge is gone with them. Sometimes we remember some things, like in my family, they come to me saying, you spend a lot of time with Baba, so how do you do this? And I tell them, but now I'm not even around anymore. And there is no way they can consult any literature to do all these things. So how do we solve this kind of problem that we have in Africa? I know it's not only in Nigeria, it's generally in Africa. So what do we do in terms of literature and indigenous medical knowledge in this aspect?
Thank you.
The next person.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Actually,
Your name, please?
I am Sulaiman Bashir. I'm a doctoral student at the African Genome Center here at UM6P. So, I mean, you really challenged me. I was telling my brother Aziz that, I mean, we are just doing science, writing articles, publishing, but we don't even think about writing literary works to probably express ourselves to our friends or maybe the larger community. So, but actually the question that I would like to ask is, where did the inspiration come from? Probably somebody has asked the question. I mean, as a medical doctor, I mean, going from medicine, pure science to humanity, how did it start?
Thank you.
And then secondly, about the medical humanity that you mentioned, what would be the intersection of psychology, or let's say clinical psychology, with this new field that you are proposing?
Okay, thank you. Any other question? Any other question? Okay. All right. Are you? Okay, somebody's here.
So again, I would like to thank you, sir, for this wonderful opportunity. Like as I said in the other sessions, traveling is a dream of mine, and now like writing about my travels become included in this adventure. And I'm hoping to see other places in the world and write about any adventure I've had in my life. And my question is about when you're going to be when like the book is going to be published that contains all of our stories. Are we going to have a copy? We would like to have one. Yeah, a free one.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Okay. Any other? Oh, you want to ask a question?
Wanted to say
okay, Gio, don't be shy. Let me hear from you. What's your name? Tell us your name.
My name is Amira.
Amira, okay. What's your question?
My question is, what's your best book you write?
Oh my, the best book I've written. Wow. That's a very... Oh, wonderful. Wonderful question. Okay. All right. If there are no more questions, let me try and... Someone? Okay. Oh, somebody's here. Please, let's hear from Candy. So, bring she wants to talk. Mike?
Okay, so my question is, we know that the literal scientific paper is just scientific in nature. There's no poetry, there's no story, nothing. Now, how can we use literature, like poetry, stories, into the new scientific paper that we are writing nowadays? So,
Getting sanctioned by editors.
exactly. So how exactly do we have a balance with respect to that, and how do we do that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good question. All right. So, yes, another question here again. Yes.
Just about the stories that we wrote, can we have like a small feedback from you about, so that we can correct the way we are writing, where the mistakes that we have made like in the writing process?
Okay. Thank you. Right. So let me start from Rafia. Is it Rafia? Yes. Asking whether because medical students read a lot, that's why they're able to also write. Well, I think so. It's related because for me, medical school training forces you to read and to write, because you have to sit down. These are fat anatomy book on anatomy and great anatomy, as big as this. If you are not careful, you faint before you really finish reading it. So I think it's also, yes, it's part of the training. You are forced to sit down and read and write, and it's a good training. because we have so many people with fantastic stories in their heads. And their problem is how to sit down. So people can't sit down for 30 minutes. They're so restless. And you have to sit down to write, unless you want to use AI. so it's important, it's related. Then about the indigenous African literature and the documentation, you are right. Because originally, in Africa, we are more of oral literary people. Most of the literature in Africa was oral. People were passing information, storytelling, incantations from each other. And that's why they used to make fun of Africans in those days that Africans don't read. It wasn't because we don't like reading. It was because we are more into orality, that is, sending things by word of mouth. And through that, we lost so many documents, a lot of evidence. But now things are coming back. We are trying to catch up. I agree with you that, there are some things that are already lost. But now, these days, in fact, there's some branch of media studies that now specialize in using technology to preserve African stories. They go to the villages and interview elderly people and document what they are saying. So we are catching up, but that is what you have said is correct. And then Suleiman mentioned how to, my inspiration as a medical doctor and where I'm fine. Well, it's a question that I've been asked. You are right. People have been asking me several times. In fact, sometimes when I go to, there was a time 2 people were fighting over me. One of them said that I have a PhD in English. Another one said, no, he's a medical doctor. It's not, and they started fighting. And somebody else said, I should go and separate them. I said, I won't talk to them. Let them continue fighting. Actually, the truth of the matter is that my original interests were in the humanities. My best subjects were in the humanities when I was in secondary school. But my father, some of these parents who try to dictate to their children what they should study. My father forced me to read medicine. I wanted to do journalism. But he said, look, do a profession that you can organize yourself. I enjoyed medical school, actually. I did very well. I even started my practice. My hospital is still running in Nigeria. I handed it over to a friend, and then I started going around the world to write stories. So I'm back to my original love. And I still practice medicine. They send me x-rays by WhatsApp. They consult, and then we talk over it. And I still have a column in Nigerian newspaper. I've been writing a column in the Nigerian Tribune for the last 20 years, every Saturday. Ask the doctor. That's my column. For more than 20 years. I'm still writing it. So I've not stopped practicing, but I'm back to my original. I think the answer is that we parents or guardians, as much as we want to guide our children, we should allow them to do what they want to do. Because whether they like it or not, they will come back to it. And then psychology in medical humanities. Yes, it's involved. I mentioned it too, that we are talking of literature, poetry, drama, psychology, even philosophy. They are all in the medical humanities, because there is no way you can treat a patient without looking at the psyche or the philosophy behind the treatment. And that's why it's believed that some traditional African healers are better than modern doctors. Because a traditional African healer will look at the whole person. You look at your family background, where you have come from. You look at your religion. You look at your star and say that whether you are born on a day that the moon was fighting the sun, or the day the market, everything about you they will look at. Even though maybe some of them are a bit exaggerated, but at least they look at the complete human being. And that is the purpose of medical humanities. It looks at your psychology, your philosophical thing, your religion, your background, and all kind of thing. And so it's part of medical humanities. And then Ikram wanted to know when the book will be published. And where is Dr. He just disappeared now. He was the one to answer that question. Maybe he ran away when you wanted to ask the question. Anyway, I've been assured that the book will be published very soon. And And I'm pushing that, that's normal. All contributors must have 1 copy each. And if you want extra copy, we'll make sure you get it at a good discount. And from what I heard, the book will be showcased in a book fair that will happen before the end of the year. And for me, because of my connection, I will also make sure that that book gets to other countries apart from Morocco, because the population of Nigeria is about 250 million, and we have a very large readership. And that's why many of us are always fighting that our books are published in Nigeria. So this kind of book, I will talk to the Institute. It will also go to the biggest African population where a lot of copies will be sold. And who knows, we can start using some of the stories, adaptation into movies, or use everything to adaptation into movie, because that's the new fad. That's the new fad now. Books being turned into cinemas, and who knows again? Maybe all of you, when there, could be the actors in that in that film. So there's nothing impossible, and that's why I like creativity. You just start. Once you start, one thing will lead to the other. If anybody told me that my book will become a film, I would say it's impossible. And then if you told me that it will go to Netflix, I would say no way. That is not. But it has happened, so it can happen. You have done the important thing. You have written, and you have written nice stories, and from there, the sky is the limit. And the youngest member of our class asked the most important question and the most difficult. Which of your books is your best book? It's like asking, say, out of your 5 children, which is the best of your children? So you can see that it's a very difficult question. But I will try and answer it, because I will not say, because one of my books has been made into a film, I don't think it's the best book. I think my best book was one of the children's books that I wrote, on the one I flashed on drug addiction. Because when I was writing it, I really punished that character in that book. I made him to suffer, so that the book would be a good example to young people that drug addiction is a dangerous thing. I made him, he was beaten in the train, he was flogged by police, he was locked up in the prison, but at the end of the day, I now delivered him. I made him to be, and so that book was also used by some NGOs, some societies in Nigeria, to explain to young people the hazards of drug addiction. Maybe that's my best book. That's the best as I can give. And then, how do we now adapt your literary studies into scientific papers? Well, I won't say that you should. Well, my friend is here. My friend who is an expert in science and mathematics. I will not say, but he himself, he likes stories. But what we have discovered is that when you use storytelling to explain scientific things, it's easier to understand. Yeah, but because we just finished a project with some writers in Africa, because my association is for African writers. And what we were tackling was the issue of open defecation. People who don't use toilets, who just defecate all over the place. Instead of using scientific jargons, we asked them to tell stories about the dangers of open defecation. And somebody wrote a beautiful story how an epidemic almost wiped off a whole village. And they were looking for the solution. Somebody said maybe it's a spiritual problem. They were looking until they found that people were defecating into the stream that people were drinking. And when they now stopped that, the whole thing stopped. So you can see, that's a scientific, for me, that's the best scientific anything you want. And so many things we have used storytelling to tackle. If you are talking about environmental pollution, if you are talking of HIV/AIDS, you are talking of anything that is scientific, storytelling, we have been taught, can make it better. But that does not take away your research that you are doing. Just like my friend told me that they had to do research before you can even get the drugs that we are using. You have to use mathematics to calculate the drug volume and all kind of thing. So science still has a big role to play in the lives of humanity. But when you combine it with literature, you can reach a wider audience. I think that is the last question. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Okay, yes, thank you. Feedback, yes. Well, I think I give a little that most of the stories were outstanding. I know that some people are saying that I should grade the stories, but I don't want to grade because everybody has passed. For you to be able to even write alone. Because, we were 46 that went for the trip. Well, we got only 20 stories. Remove my own, 19 stories. So you can see that a sizable number didn't even write anything. And some of them, I was calling them one by one. Hey, my friend, when is your story coming? You just laugh. I knew nothing would come. So I think that is big feedback enough. But let me be more specific. Most of the stories are very realistic. And you can, if I didn't go for that trip, I would say maybe it was copied from somewhere else. But when you read, people mention everything there. The bus trip, the night, the cold night, the beautiful scene on the mountain, the dinner, and people also mention names of some of the people there. They mention each other's names and all kind of things. So I'm happy that we have. Dr. Tazi, there was a question for you in your absence. They said, when will the books be published? $10. And are they going to get copies? I promised them before I answered on your behalf. I've answered on behalf that they will get copies. And anybody who wants extra copy will get copies at a discounted price. Because some people want to. Yes, okay. So let's clap for the institute. They have been confirmed. You will get copies because people want to showcase their work. They want to give it to friends, families, and that kind of thing. So they will make sure. And Dr. too, they said they want another workshop next year. This year. Oh, right. So good. So I'm delivering their message to the institute. So I think that is all the questions I have. Please, I want to listen to my friend. Please, Prof, come forward. It's our latest resident, all the way from UK. Okay. Yes.
So very nice to meet you. Tim Xiu from, from United Kingdom. I arrived here before last night. It's great to see you. It's very, very like second home feeling when I came here. It's quite exciting. So come back to today's program. It's just one word. Just can summarize my feeling. It's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. I hope you agree with me. And academically, I just very quickly, briefly share my ideas. Not answer the question, but just comments. I can use SOR, maybe, to express. For instance, S definitely is a very significant area. So when we talk about medical humanity, when we talk about such interdisciplinary studies in this area, we can see when society developed into certain level, certain standard, so people started to examine, to explore this area. So significance, yes. And the second, I would say like a region. It's quite a regional study. I can see insights, I can see professor how much he has explored in this area and in multidisciplinary. And some I'm not 100% sure I understand everything, but I can see something like a regional. That's really good. And last words, I would like to say it's like a very innovative study, very innovative research methodologies, and try to integrate, try to explore, try to do some disciplines cross inter-multi. And very finally, if I say like comment some questions, and how do you do, with this so-called like inter-transdisciplinary together and make the real chemistry? like very different disciplines.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, he has asked me a professorial question. I will try my best. Well, I believe that, like I said, that's why I started from the historical perspective. Number one, to say that what we are talking about is not new. It's not something that we are just bringing from the blues. It has always been with us from beginning. We spoke of early philosophers, early poets who unconsciously were writing things that had medical themes. So, and that's to let us know that even look at the Greeks at that time, using the god Apollo to be the mascot for writers, for healers. So it means that right from beginning, the Almighty has already put all these things together. We are the ones who are separating. Say, you go here, you go here, you go here. The fellow that made the whole world has put everything together from beginning. So in essence, we are just going back to the beginning. And again, I believe that when you have passion for something, a passion for anything, you will put your mind in it. We have so many, and that's why I like academics. When you look at, there are so many other places you can become very rich. You can make money, make anything, but you share some academics, even with what they are being paid, that is modest, they will still put their energy into it. They will go to, when I was talking to my friend, anytime I mentioned the country, he said, oh, I was there, I've been there, I was there for 2 years. I said, Tanzania, I was there for 2 years. I went to Cardiff, I was in Cardiff. I said, look at this man, you are everywhere. And it's because of the passion. And that is what we are bringing into medical humanities. Once you are passionate about something, you will do it. And I also see it as a new area for academicians. Because academicians are always looking for new things. Now, in Nigeria, after Professor Wale, there are about 2 other professors of medical humanities, and then we have countless PhD students. In fact, today, they call me almost every day. Today, I got 2 calls. Sir, I'm a PhD student somewhere. I'm working on your books. Can you give me this? So it's now a new field. People are going there. And this is something that I think we can take away from this, that we should always look for new ways of thinking. So on this note, if there's no more questions, I will take a bow and ask us to please enjoy the, oh, you've already finished them? Okay. I like this class. They eat before the lecture. And then we can have a good photograph outside before we go. Thank you so much.